So, Secretary, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Ted, do you wish to say anything?
Are we to the business section now, or are we adding to
We
my
are,
comment about
yeah.
7QP?
No, sorry. If you want to add any commentary about 7QP, you're welcome to, but this is the Secretary's report. I just failed to mention that. My bad on the context switching.
Well, I do have a small comment on 7QP. The score that they show is higher than the one that Mike had by almost, I don't know. It says 261,557. And I think yours is 209,000.
No, 270,000.
Okay.
Yeah,
My
it
mistake.
we can't be higher.
Well, yeah.
That
Okay.
there's always, what your stated score, because there's always dupes, there's busted calls, and so it's always going to be slightly less.
That's true. Okay, so I sent the minutes out last Monday because I thought last Monday was the meeting. So is there any updates, additions, deletions, comments, things I should know, or you don't care?
I looked at them as I always do, Ted, and I found them to be 100% accurate.
All right, thank you. That's all I
No,
had.
thank you. All right. Thank you, Ted. And we'll get to Ron, and we'll ask Ron if he can show us where the bylaws are as well, if that's not too much time out of our activities here. Treasurer's report. Okay, so Andy is taking care of his wife who had some surgery, and I am looking up the, hang on a second. I had a window open here and I closed it. All right, hang on a second.
I have them, Paul.
Do you?
I do.
Let's see here, apprentice. Why don't you go ahead and read them for us, Ted? I can't seem to find it.
Okay, so Andy submitted, the checking is $1,740.84. Savings is $2,487.59. There was 81 cents in the Square, $80.68 in PayPal. And the total is $4,309.92.
Thank you, Ted. And I want to remind everybody on here who isn't part of 7QP that 7QP is self-funded. It is not club sponsored. It is our club call, but we do not use funds from the club, at least until at this time. We just haven't. We've been able to manage with efficient shopping and dividing the costs to not do that.
So here I got one other news flash here. So we beat our closest competitor out by 67,851 points.
Oh,
67,000, almost 68,000 points. Jeez.
I told you the food was better.
what was that number exactly again, Mike? 67,000 what?
67,851 points.
And I'd like to thank Vaughn for his back office support for getting our IT networks up, running, and keep running, because without it, we would not be able to see each other's logging and be on all over the bands, and we'd be a mess.
Hey, Mike brought all the stuff and designed and engineered it. I just picked it up and ran with it.
Right on. Okay, so thank you, Ted, for secretaries and treasurer's report. Ron, you're up next. If you want to share your screen, you can. that would maybe put a picture to a word. At the bottom, there is a green share screen button, and then you have to pick the screen you need if you have multiple.
So hopefully you have it.
I do.
So this is the homepage landing page. If you go to www.peakradio.org, really showed this before, so you know there's things on here about paying dues and those things. Depending on whether you're on your phone or on a web browser. On a phone, I notice the menu comes up on the top left. On a web browser here, it's on the top right. I'll go to the bylaws first. It's just on the menu here. And hopefully it doesn't take too long since I'm sharing video too. But it just, yeah, it comes up as a document. You can pop it out. I believe you can download it if you're interested. So that's where you can find that. And then one thing I want to say for pics, I'm only about halfway through. I got a bunch of pictures from Vaughn I haven't posted yet. And sorry it's taking me so long, Vaughn, but as soon as I get there, I'll get them up. I did I added a few little comments to some of these pictures. Kind of goes through a storyline. A lot of the ones, a lot of the
I
ones
have not
that
seen
shared,
that commentary, Ron. Yeah.
You know, they are in a time sequence, so it amazes me when you see this on Thursday and then you get the Sunday. You know, setting up the camp. Yeah, he did a great job launching the balls and you know, a little bit of work, a little bit of relaxing there. There's our IT support, and I want a second to thank you, Vaughn. I know you definitely helped me keep some things straight. And yes, like I said, some of these we've pictured. I do want to point out, you know, this was all the food for all those people that Paul liked. And then this is what I got to eat. We had the treasure hunt challenge. That was something kind of new this year, I think. And Paul won. It's always nice to have a
He
little
was
bit
trying to fix a plumbing. He was trying to fix a plumbing leak or something, wasn't he?
It was a gas line. He had to
Oh,
replace.
gas
line.
line.
Yeah,
Okay.
he replaced a 6-inch propane line with a 5-foot propane line. Because that's all he could find, and he really wanted the propane. It's important to have heat at night up there. You know, a lot of good food. We did have light in there. You know, it's really a nice setup. There's Paul working hard, and Scott. You know, I kind of like this one. If I tweak the setting, I can take over Anna's radio. That was a story we didn't share quite yet tonight. But we found out how to get Anna out of her trailer fast. And it's one of the hidden features of Flex radios. They're just working hard. And, you know, I asked for the real Paul to stand up there. Paul really did make some contacts. One other one, you know, hey, deja vu. I thought that was a pretty good picture and pretty appropriate.
Yeah. Oh no, here we go again.
Yeah, took down my antenna because it started snowing. Lesson learned from last year. And then just a comment here, I said it would be a cold day on the mountain when I let Paul get more contacts than me. And Paul's wondering, okay, why is it so cold today? But yep, and congratulations, Paul. you know, you sure worked them there. We had a lot of fun. Like Mike, I also had trouble seeing out my front window, but you know, since I don't drive the trailer, that wasn't too big of a problem. And then, you know, share
Cool.
everybody's camper. I didn't, I, I think Vaughn has sent me a picture of his tent, in the back of his truck. It was actually a pretty nice little setup. And here we are looking for parts. Can't find them anywhere, you know, parts and pieces. Just a beautiful place up there. One person had made it in and out there, so you know that was our wagon trail. Yep, you know, great memories happened there. At least, you know, I made it the last 2 years in a row, and really, really enjoyed myself both years. Any other questions about the website? There are, just as you've seen, there are some other pictures like from the Christmas party. Yeah, and last year's, that's the heater and the warming up from last year. So some things to look at there. And if you haven't
Thanks,
been up
Ron.
there, one other thing I'll go here since I've got it. There is a page here that has, and it's taken a while to load, but under club meeting videos, you'll find all of our videos for the meetings. So if you're ever looking for them and you don't know how to find them on YouTube, you can go here and find them too.
Excellent. That's a great landing spot. Thank you. Okay, so this is an invitation for those of you going to field day. This is how we propagate our picture library. So thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to steal the screen here. I want to share a wonderful, memorable moment here with that's not the screen that I wanted, but hang on a
That's
second.
field day.
I got to get the
Yep.
Yeah, that is. So I'll get to that in a minute. So last month, we reported Anthony was going to get married on May 11th, and it did happen. So there's Anthony and his bride, Beth. It was an outdoor wedding, and then we had there was a reception in a barn, very nicely decorated with DJ and everything else. And there's 4 hams right there. Betsy, Dawn, Anthony, and myself. So next time you see Anthony or talk to him, congratulate him. He said, get a load of this. His honeymoon was his first vacation since high school that he's spent more than 5 days off of work. I was shocked. So anyway, yeah. So in order for me to shorten the time, I just wanted to mention Logbook of the World is offline. I had a link up here and I don't see it anymore.
Yeah,
So I apologize.
It's still offline.
Yeah. So there's in the chat window, it was the very first thing in the chat window. If you weren't here earlier and you rely on Logbook of the World, you can go to that first link and it'll show you the status from the ARRL Direct. It's the very first thing I posted this evening. But if you're wondering why your logbook isn't updating with contacts that you've made or submitting, that's why. We already talked about the 7QP report, so I'm not going to cover that again. Real quick, anybody either attend Dayton? I think Anna went to Dayton, or did you buy anything from the vendors at Dayton prices? Every manufacturer seemed to be advertising something. They must have known I ordered something before because they were hammering me for it, but I waved them off. The one thing that I did hear was there were no Ron, help me out here. There were no major announcements? Is that what I'm hearing?
Flex had a huge announcement.
Well, even I watched the video on Flex's announcement, and I was expecting to hear what Anna was talking about. So Flex is probably one of the bigger announcements that at least I seen the YouTube on. But what I understand that Kenwood's, they released a 75 page help manual for one of their new radios. That was their big announcement. And I think it was ICOM had a glass case with some circuit boards in it going, hey, here's our new radio we're working on. Yaesu, I understand, just kept their mouth shut and didn't really say anything. So yeah, Flex was probably one of the bigger ones that he had quite a presentation he put out. At least that's what I saw posted on YouTube and that. I wasn't there, so I can only go the things that made it to me.
Okay, hearing nothing else. We'll move on to the next subject, which is upcoming events, contests, and hamfests. The first one I have is CPAC. And if you don't know, it's cpac.org is your website. That's your friend. If you want to go and get a campsite, do it soon. If you want to buy tickets in advance, I would do it soon. They close the online ticketing, I forget when, but if you go through it, do it in the next few days if you're going to do it, or you can just pay at the door. Mike, any other comments on that?
Nope, and it's probably really hard to end up getting any accommodations there if you want to stay overnight.
Yeah. It is a really nice take-in. I went there exactly once, and it was a really nice venue for the size of the area it was covering. So if you haven't been, it's a good one to take in, and it's a nice time of the year. Okay. It is May 20th, and in exactly a month and 2 days from now is field day.
Yep.
Mike still hasn't unpacked his camper, and yet in 30 days it's going to be rolling again.
Yep, I had my headset was in the camper tonight, so I had to run down there and get it. Yeah, it was in the camper. So anyway, it's coming up quickly, and I'll be shoveling out some email, and I guess we need to think about. Well, we'll talk a little bit about food and stuff like that.
Yep. Just as a reminder, Field Day is a great family event. If you want to bring significant other or a grandchild or just a nephew that's interested in STEM or anything like that, this is a perfect opportunity to bring someone along. And we're really good at two things: talking about radios and shoving cheeseburgers in their mouths. So just bring them along. There'll always be an extra cheeseburger. And anything to inspire youth and hobby. I had a personal experience with my Pennsylvania crowd 3 years ago when a 10-year-old came and said his grandfather was a ham, and he's like, hey, I just got my brand new call sign. It was like a 2x3 with a 4 in the middle. He was visiting from Florida, and we literally sat him down, and he ran 80 meters for 6 hours. We taught him how to do it. We actually gave him a commendation and sent it back to him and his science teacher. And he actually got some award for it. But it was like he made more than half the points on 80 meters for the entire club. But anyway, that was my claim to fame. But yeah, just sit them down and teach them how to do it, and then off they go. Just let them go. So it was a lot of fun watching. Field day is that experience. It's not as much of a contest as it is an exercise. It's outreach and making contacts and learning things about antennas and setting up radios and noise reduction and not eating too much so before we have to take down everything. Between Mike and myself and anybody else who can assist, we'll be sending out some notices, right, Mike? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, on the group reflector. Okay.
The good news is it doesn't typically snow on field day.
Just don't even say that word, dude. Just don't even say it.
It can be
Where
really
we go,
cold. There was a field day at the Marcola Fire Station years ago, and my family went to that, and all they remember is being cold.
yep.
It has been blazingly hot a time or two.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe it'll be that way this year. Maybe they'll be interested in going.
Okay. Any new business or upcoming events or items of interest that we haven't talked about? This is a sort of the last thing before we close our meeting? Anybody jump ball? Any topics?
Well, you had mentioned maybe someone's interested in the West Coast reflector topic.
Thank you. Sorry, John. I went right over that by accident because it wasn't on my agenda, and that's my to-do. So John's going to talk to us a little bit about what's been happening on the PRA reflector. I'm sorry, PRA network. There's been some new connections, and so John gonna kind of give us some update. He was listening to it and participating, and it's something new.
I'll start with a couple questions. Anyone not familiar with the All-Star voice over IP internet protocol that's used by amateur radio? Anybody not familiar with it? Well, anyway, Chris Navarro, AB7BS, added that some years ago to the PRA network of repeaters that are linked up and down Oregon and the coast. And he came up with a design, began fabricating some All-Star nodes. They're based on the Raspberry Pi microcomputer, and they run Linux, and it's a special voice over IP software that they run. Well, I got one of his nodes at that time, and I got it set up and running. And you apply to Chris to get on the whitelist for the AB7 or for the PRA one. And so mine was on for a while, but it got dismantled by my wife when she was supposedly organizing my desk, and it got packed. But anyway, a big user of the PRA network is Ken Barnell, N6KNE, and he drives a commercial truck in 11 Western states. He works for a company called KKW. And so he worked with Chris Navarro, and got an All-Star network set up in his truck. And that really helps him stay in contact wherever he is if he can't get access to actually a radio repeater. And so he got really interested in that, expanding it. And I don't know exactly the history of it, but there is more of a history on the webpage that they're showing. But there was an East Coast reflector, and he developed then a West Coast reflector based on All-Star. And really began promoting it and interconnecting with other groups and other functions that are supported by hams, different places, and Skywarn is one of them. But anyway, part of this is developing it because he's going to retire this year, and his wife is from Colombia, and he's going to be moving to Colombia, and it's going to be a way that he can stay involved with our whole group. So I ended up buying a new All-Star node. It's a radioless All-Star node. There's some you can get with a radio and some without. Mine's a radio less. And so I finally got set up. So I'm on this white list there for the West Coast reflector as well. So I show up in there. So that's just sort of a quick overview as I know it so far. Maybe one of these days we could get Ken to be a best guest speaker on here.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And if there's any interest, I can have him do something for 15 or 20 minutes, yeah, kind of a thing. And it is internet based. It is connected, not by microwaves. It's by gateways and other things. So it is a blend of internet and radios. And like you said, John, thank you for that nice intro. It is available for people who are just using data cell. I talk to Ken almost every time I'm in the car. I hear Ken. So he's on the road constantly. He's in his truck and he's traveling up the 11 states, like you said. And I actually met him for breakfast one morning. And let's see here.
I got to meet him for lunch for the first time, maybe about a month ago. That was before you met with him. So that was the first time I met him in person. We had a good lunch together.
Yep. So I can't pull it. Here it is. There it is. So just for fun, there's Ken. Let's see. Let me share the screen real quick. I won't take a lot of time on this one.
There's a picture of Ken and his wife on the
Yep.
West Coast.
So here's Ken and I at the Coburg Cafe. We met for breakfast. We were
Okay.
talking on the PRA network. And he goes, "Hey, I'm heading south," and I'm like, "I'm heading north." And I go, "Well, let's meet in the middle." And so there he and I, and he even bought me breakfast. Now I'm not starting a rumor that he's going to buy everybody breakfast, okay? But anyway, it was nice fellow, really great, inspiring to try to influence the hobby. And what John was talking about was connecting all these other nodes up. And what happened was in the Skywarn net, and you might see some chatter on the email, this is the end of my conversation here, is that there was some Skywarn nets being run by youth. And there was all of these check-ins with weather reports and any, inclement weather and all of this stuff from all over the place. Ken created that infrastructure and glued it together and allowed the youths to get very excited about amateur radio. And so I want to give him kudos for that.
So if anyone's interested, see if you can get yourself an all-star node and get set up.
Thank you, John. We're kind of at the end of the meeting, running a little early today, but and that's fine. Do anybody have any other topics they want to add or questions they want to ask for any of the topics we've had? Otherwise, we'll close the meeting. And Vaughn must be still eating his dinner.
Oh no, my room's just a mess and I'm not turning my camera on. Sorry.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.